Hello everyone. On April the 14th, Mars is transiting into Gemini. Mars is so fast-paced in 2021, every sign change is enormously important that we take note of this. This will speed up everybody's life in a most dramatic way, but there are some conflicts. Let me explain to you what this will mean for your own chart and indeed for the world. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below and let's begin. April the 14th then, the chart as Mars moves into sidereal Gemini. It's very important to note that something special has happened at this time. Can you see, everyone? Those of you who do astrology quite a lot will see immediately what has happened. Mars has broken the Kal-Sarp Yoga. This Kal-Sarp Yoga has been going on since the end of 2020. Rahu Ketu, with all the planets completely in this loop of Kal-Sarp Snake Yoga. Yes, every 2 weeks Moon has been breaking this, but that's a superficial factor. What we need to see is a slower graha like Mars permanently changing this Kal-Sarp, and that has now occurred, which is definitely a good thing, and most people are going to feel a feeling of being freed up in some area of their life, that things are finally moving. But remember, everybody, Mars is malefic in nature, and in Gemini he's not at all happy, really. Why? Because Gemini is ruled by Buddha Mercury, and as far as Mars is concerned, Mercury is enemy. Because the purposeful energy of warrior Mars cannot act constructively in the very fickle, changeable, and almost chaotic sign of Gemini sometimes. So what tends to happen is everybody becomes a little bit unfocused in this transit. Everybody finds that there's so much going on, they just don't know what's going to happen next. What should they do next? So long-term goals can come a little bit unstuck for some people in this transit. It's hard to find peace in your mind, many people, with this Mars in Gemini. Some people, though, are actually enjoying the restlessness and lack of focus. It all depends how this is relating to your sign. And talk about itchy feet. Mars in Gemini is so restless, he just cannot sit still for a moment. Aspecting Sagittarius of foreign travel, everybody's going to want to be on the move. If not to foreign lands, at least locally, people are feeling restless and definitely wanting change and variety in their life. However, don't pack your suitcases too soon, everybody. I have to tell you something else about the transit. You see, Mars has an 8th aspect, and in this case, his aspect is on Saturn. On Saturn in his own sign of Capricorn. In fact, everyone, the only way to really see this 8th aspect of Mars to Shani is to understand it's going to be one of frustration. The 8th aspect of Mars is about change, revolution, but Saturn is like an immovable force that will not shift. It's a bit like a naughty child or a teenager having a bit of a rage, basically, but coming up against a stern and immovable parent. So take caution, because in some area of your life you are coming up against this immovable factor that you cannot shift at this time. You must try to stay calm, but staying calm is going to be one of the most difficult things for many people during this Mars-Gemini transit. But you cannot kick against Shani in Capricorn. He will win the battle. So I will talk about this in the individual predictions. But take heart, everybody. The good news is that Jupiter has moved into Aquarius and is making a 5th aspect onto Mars. So Jupiter will calm down some of this Mars energy. And in some area of your life, Jupiter will pick up on this Mars energy and move things forward much more smoothly. Check the video Jupiter Aquarius already on my channel for more details of the long-term effects of this Jupiter transit right up until September. But don't forget, as far as the world is concerned, these two factors, Jupiter aspecting Mars, but Mars agitating Shani, will dominate the next few weeks. There is optimism. There is cooperation between people and nations because of Jupiter Mars, but there is frustration. And there is a general feeling individually for peoples of coming up against immovable government forces. In regard to COVID-19, as I've explained to you on my Jupiter prediction video recently, really Jupiter, as he is situated now in Aquarius, is not helping COVID-19 if there is not cooperation between people. Not until he can get into Pisces in 2022 can things begin to ease a little bit. So Mars in Gemini, having this difficult aspect on Saturn, is going to make things a little bit difficult for the virus situation, because he intends here to be a little bit chaotic, as I've said. So there's a definite lack of social distancing, lack of restraint, a real restlessness, and it's not boding well for containing the virus in these next 6 weeks. Quick word about the Mahadashas in your life. Mars Mahadasha Shani and Jupiter Mahadasha are going to be impacted. Let me just talk a little bit about that. If you are in Mars Mahadasha, the whole of this year is so fast moving, most tremendous changes happening in your life, because Mars, ruler of your Mahadasha, is not going retrograde even for 1 minute in this 2021. But this Mars Gemini transit, be really careful. You will feel the frustration of Mars coming up against Saturn at this time. There will be barriers. Try to stay calm. If you are in Shani Mahadasha, it's the opposite. You are being agitated by something, someone. Someone's on your back. Someone just won't let go. Once again, you are in a strong position, in a really strong sign by transit Capricorn. Stay calm. It will all just fade away. And if you are in Jupiter Mahadasha, wow, make the most of Jupiter's trine transit to Mars. Enthusiasm and doors are opening to you at this time. Let's move on to the individual transit reading now. Don't forget to read from your Vedic Moon sign as well as Ascendant to get the deepest understanding. So for Aries Moon and Aries Lagna, both Mars is your Lord and also your 8th house Lord. Whenever he changes signs, things change in your life because the 8th house factor comes into play. This time going into Gemini, it's a good move for you because Mars is strong in this 3rd house. He gets things done. He is inspired with courage to change things that need changing. So you're going to be taking huge initiatives in your life in these next 3 weeks. You're going to be vocal, you're going to be purposeful, and you're going to have loads of energy. However, if you have malefics in your chart in your 3rd house, 6th house, 9th house, or 10th house, Mars is setting them off big time. And there's a manic quality to this Mars 3rd house that you just cannot sit still for a moment. And sometimes it can actually bring extra stress and extra conflict into your life. This will be so noticeable in your career area because the 8th aspect of Mars is on Shani in the 10th house. So much frustration as you attempt to push against barriers here. Be careful. You can have difficulties with your boss, superiors, co-workers. It can be very tense and frustrating in your career work area. You have to take a little bit of calm at this time because pushing against these things can actually put you in a worse situation than if you had not done so. It's hard for Aries to have patience, but try to do so as Mars goes forward into Leo. Late summer, things are more in your favor, definitely. And of course, when Jupiter comes backwards into your 10th house, conjuncting with Saturn, September to October, November, you can make those big career decisions. You absolutely have no choice but to make them. But that is the right time to move forward. But for now, Jupiter in your 11th house, expanding network circles, aspecting Mars is favorable. Friends have advice for you. Friends have support for you. Opening up new network circles with this Mars 3rd house brings travel, enthusiasm, and excitement into your life at this time. For Taurus Moon and Taurus Lagna, Mars is Lord of your 7th house. He's a miracle planet, but he also brings you in touch with those who support you as partners. But also he's your 12th house Lord. He rules secretive factors in your life, loss, expenses, and foreign lands. He's gone into your 2nd house now. This is quite a good move for you, Taurus, because you're going to sort out unfinished financial factors in these next 6 weeks, and you're going to dig up some secrets as you're doing it. You're going to be intensely involved in your family and family affairs at this time also. You're going to be quite aggressive, even dealing with matters that you've just let go. The most important factor is, though, that Mars is your seventh lord. So, issues with your spouse around joint finances, wills, legacies, savings, all of these factors are going to come to the fore very strongly. And some of them, as I say, because Mars is your 12th house lord, will have some unknown factors in them. But the good news is, no matter what stress there is over your savings, wills, legacies, accounts, so forth, you're going to take control of them completely. Mars' second house means that you make everything work out for you long term very well. You are excellent dealing with finances. Mercury, second house lord, is a great planet for you. So you sort out all the fine details of financial tangles in your life in the next few weeks, and you come out a winner in these difficult circumstances. There are some conflicts though and some issues. You see, Mars has a fourth aspect where he wants to control a house on the fifth house. So you're trying to control value system of your children if you have older children now, and it's going to be a tough experience. There can be some conflicts there. Probably you will win out though, because you are a patient and careful parent. However, if you are in education, it can get very choppy now. This could be a make or break time. Mars having the fourth aspect on the fifth house of education, and as I've just discussed, this very difficult eighth aspect on your ninth house of higher education where Shani is. You're going to have to make a decision. Do you continue with the course? Do you enroll in education, or do you decide to put it to one side for some time? It's all going to hinge on financial issues, whatever decision you make. Good news, of course, is that Jupiter, who is Lord of your house of profit, is in your 10th house, aspecting second house of wealth. So you can increase wealth in your life through your business enterprise in these next few weeks. There should be good profits and income coming to you during this time. And if there are not, you can source out more favorable employment situation for yourself during this time. Gemini moon, Gemini Lagna, the energy is coming into your ascendant or your moon sign. It's particularly auspicious if it is your moon sign, by the way, because Mars and moon have such a good rapport between them. So your emotional strength is huge, and your physical energy, ascendant and moon, is going through the roof at this time. You are moving and shaking everything in your domestic sphere, that is for certain. This is a time when Geminis take control of uncontrollable factors in your home life. Some of you are actually going to move, buy property, make extensions or huge changes into your domestic situation. And it's going to go very well for the most part, unless you have malefics natally placed in your fourth house, in which case you can be up against some opposition and delays and frustrations. Mostly though, Mars aspecting fourth house is excellent. You are able to make whatever changes you need to make under your own steam. Mars is also Lord of your 11th house of profit, so you could expect that you will profit by these domestic property factors, including selling property, buying property, and even letting out property. Whatever it is you are doing property-wise, it can go very well indeed in these next 6 weeks. However, if you are in business in any way, the aspect of Mars to the 7th house of business partnerships and the 8th house of business deals shows that there's going to be some tension and contention at this time, especially again if you have malefics in your chart, 7th house and 8th house. You're not in a mood to back down, however, so some contention, arguments, and disputes are very likely, including in your spousal relationships, some of you. But that's not necessary to happen. What is going to happen, though, is that Mars's aspect onto the 8th house of joint finance, where Saturn is still going to cause you some frustration. So dealing with wills, legacies, joint finances, pensions, saving schemes, it's causing you enormous sense of frustration and coming up against roadblocks at every moment. And this is probably what's causing some contention with your spouse or even business partner for some of you. Whatever tensions exist, the good news is that the Lord of your 7th house, ruling, of course, spouse and business, is actually in the 9th house now of your chart, an excellent placement, making a great aspect to Mars in your 1st house. So, taking a trip with your spouse, foreign lands, dealing with people, business people from foreign lands is going to work out so well. This aspect means that new partnerships from people from different lands is also going to prosper you in every way. Don't forget, Mars, as I've said, is about prosperity in your life. So, going abroad, taking foreign trips, being open to new deals, business-wise with foreign shores will definitely prosper you and indeed help your relationship for more harmony, most definitely. And finally, relations with your father at this time, father's family, will also help you smooth out much tension as well. For Cancer Moon and Cancer Lagna, Mars is a very positive planet for you. He is your 5th house lord, so he actually brings into your life so much that is good karma from your past life, and your 10th house lord, he propels you to fame and success. But going into your 12th house, it's a time of retreat and reflection, most definitely. What's happening is the situations in your workplace ruled by Mars are going into a very strange place now. There's things going on behind the scenes that you don't know about, but you intuitively know that there are things moving and shaking and you just can't do anything about them. There's a real insecurity about your working life at the moment. What you have to know, Cancer, is that you can't sort out this by pushing ahead now. Things have got a little bit out of your control in these next 6 weeks, and it's a good thing. So quarrels with your siblings, quarrels with your spouse, co-worker difficulties, health problems, stress levels, they are all there, but they can be calmed down by taking time out to yourself. The best advice is try to control your tendency to over-worry. You may have insomnia in this period, too many sleepless nights. Good idea would be, though, because Mars is a good planet for you in so many ways, what you want to do is keep a dream diary. Yes, keep a book beside your bed, and every time you do get some sleep, hopefully, and have some dreams, write them down. Mars 12th house gives you insight, ideas and inspiration through your dreams at this time. The reason for this is that Jupiter, currently in the 8th house of your chart, has a 5th aspect to Mars. So enormous insight and ability to see behind the scenes of things now is going to come to you. This time of retreat and reflection will power you up, ready for the time when Mars moves into your 1st house in June and July, and then you can make the moves you need to make. But be very careful, though, to avoid too much tension and difficulty with your spouse, with your partner, close friends, and business partners. Mars has this difficult 8th aspect, just explained to you, to Saturn in this 7th house. So there's some frustration getting partners to understand your point of view. Best friends don't seem to be supporting you, don't seem to be available to you. So this is all pushing you back onto your own self, which, as I say, has great benefits for you in this period. Leo Moon and Leo Lagna, what a great transit for you. Mars is the lord of your 9th house, but also of your 4th house of happiness and home. He's gone into the 11th house of wish fulfillment, gain, and new sources of income. You're definitely going to be finding the sources of income you've been looking for some time in these next 6 weeks. You are feeling active, motivated, and really popular, actually, in this transit. So make the most, Leo, of these next 6 weeks, because Mars is your Yogacaraka planet. Having strength in this 11th house, he puts you in the limelight. Nothing that you love better. And most importantly, he pursues your interests and makes things go your way. So by being active, open, involved in society, you find many fantastic solutions to your problems. Other people are definitely good for you during this period. Mars's aspect on the second house puts you in control of financial situations now. Gain, increase in income is very likely for many of you, and this is making you feel more secure. But if you have afflicting planets in your natal second house, or indeed 11th house, sometimes this can increase conflict with your family members over financial affairs. Mars's aspect onto your fifth house, if you are a student, you're going to be powering ahead on your course, getting everything working your way and absolutely being successful. If you have children, there is some contention with them, but you will work this through. But it's Mars's aspect onto your sixth house, where Saturn is, that you mostly have to watch out for. Watch your health most definitely then, because Mars aspect on the sixth house, where Shani is going to slow you down a little bit with some unexpected factors. It's going to frustrate you enormously. So take good care of your health. Take enough rest, relaxation in this extremely active time. Don't forget as well that Mars aspecting Saturn here gives you difficulty with your co-workers. Some of you have legal factors which are ongoing and which will be a little bit frustrating, to say the least. Try to have patience in all of these areas. Good news is that Jupiter is in your seventh house now, having a good aspect onto Mars. Jupiter is your fifth house and eighth house lord. So in this way, he gives you good fortune from past karmas, and he helps you to find compromise financially with your spouse. So this increases happiness with your spouse and your friends in this transit, and actually you get good ideas and very good support from them, as it is aspecting Mars so well in this transit. For Virgo Moon and Virgo Lagna, it's all happening in your 10th house of career and status. My goodness, the energy you are pushing out there is unbelievable. You can normally take it quite quietly, stay in the background, just push ahead with your routine. No more Mr. Quiet Guy for Virgo, because Mars is pushing ahead with energy and ambition to do the things you've wanted to do for some time. You see, Mars is your third house lord, so he gives you the courage in your 10th house to say the things you've left unsaid for so long, particularly to superiors, bosses, or even co-workers. So this will of necessity create some conflict though, because third house always brings conflict. So as long as you are ready for that, it will be okay, because Mars is your 8th house lord. You may have to leave a job at this time. You may have to change something so profound in your working life that it is not the same. But that is what 8th house lord has to do. Make necessary changes when the time is right. Most of all, if you are seeking employment, there are definitely opportunities there, but you have to push ahead against opposition and challenges to make the most of them. Mars's fourth aspect on the first house, though, takes control of your appearance and health. You're doing everything you can to get fit, improve your diet, get active. All of it is going to work so well because you have increased levels of vitality during these weeks. But watch for conflict in your domestic situation. Mars opposing the fourth house shows that you want to make changes also in your domestic sphere. This can be good in a way because long put off tasks once again are benefiting by your increased level of health. You will do DIY tasks, maybe even starting a property deal, or most importantly, some of you thinking of moving. Why are you moving? Because of the changes in your career situation, most definitely. There are still difficulties and frustration with your children if you have them, and the utmost patience will be necessary at this time. Trying to have children also, there may be some delay, some of you. Mars aspecting here also impacts education for students. You're going to have to work so hard now. It's going to take every ounce of effort, but actually Shani is purposeful here, and this long-term effort is going to work out for you. So it's non-stop work, non-stop effort for students, but ultimately very good success as well. Jupiter in the 6th house of your chart aspecting Mars 10th house may mean that some of you are actually making changes in your career situation because of ongoing health issues. And actually, Jupiter's aspect to Mars means that you make fantastic changes that make your everyday work environment much more healthy, harmonious, and productive for you during this time. So for Libra Moon and Libra Lagna both, Mars is your 7th lord and your 2nd lord. A tricky planet for you, but he always gets you closely connected to other people. He's in your 9th house. There's movement in your life. Foreign travel, very likely. Local travel, most definitely. Everything's moving on from a somewhat difficult position when Mars was in Taurus, where you felt a little bit stuck in financial difficulty. Now you're just wanting to get yourself out of a rut, and great opportunities are there for you in the next few weeks. So connections to foreign shores, foreign lands, higher education institutions, philosophy, guru, all of these things about what you really believe in life. There's a lot of energy there, and you are putting energy into these deep, important factors. Why? Because Mars is aspecting the 12th house of secrets, expenses, and philosophy. So many of you going to far off places for retreat to definitely get away from it all, probably with your partner. However, Mars having a 7th aspect onto your 3rd house shows so much communication with your siblings and immediate family, but a lot of contention also. But the most important factor is that Mars has an aspect which is difficult onto the 4th house of home. Some of you may have ongoing issues with your mother or with your domestic situation, mother's family included, which are very difficult to shift. Saturn in your 4th house shows that you want to make changes, you want to move, you want to make things easier in your domestic situation, but there are just too many obstacles. It's a slow road out of this domestic mire for Libras at the moment. It's a bit messed up. It's a bit contracted. You see, Saturn is your yoga karaka. Over time, he will sort your home life out in a brilliant way, making it far more satisfactory. But this next 6 weeks, it's very frustrating in relation to home, family, mother concerns, and your security in general, which is why your mind is on higher learning and escaping as much as you can. Jupiter in your 5th house, though aspecting Mars, can give you great success in your education. Students will be feeling optimistic and motivated in their studies. Jupiter here also represents children, so children's affairs are definitely going much better than previously, and some of you even starting new family at this time. For Scorpio Moon and Scorpio Lagna, Mars, your ruling planet, and your 6th house lord going into your 8th house, it's somewhat of a stressful 6 weeks for you. Let's make no bones about it. It's going to be stressful because you're going to have to deal with financial business decisions that you've been putting off for some time. However, on the other hand, Mars in the 8th house is a very powerful position for you because it gives you the strength of a certain amount of secrecy. You're not showing your hand now. You are definitely making plans for your future, but you're not talking about them very much. You are sourcing out new potential forms of income by this 4th aspect on the 11th house. Watch for problems with your family members and particularly with your siblings. Mars having an 8th aspect onto your house of younger siblings particularly shows contentions, difficulties, quarrels and huge misunderstandings here, but you can overcome them easily because you are able to mitigate these situations for your highest good. Despite all of the family tension and financial tension, Jupiter, situated now in your 4th house, having an aspect onto Mars in the 8th house, is going to smooth the way for you, especially with your mother and your mother's family. You can make expansion of your home at this time, even some of you finding new domestic situation, and it's all going to work out extremely well long term. Finally, Mars is your 6th house lord also, and going into the 8th house for these next weeks, there can be some lingering and difficult health issues that you are dealing with. Mars in this house makes him difficult to cure, but the thing is, because he has aspect onto your second house of food, medicine, and everything which is internally digested, you will be able to find the right remedies. You see, Mars here is very good at curing illness. He literally burns them out of your body. So take advice and change your diet. It could really help you health-wise in this period. Sagittarius moon, Sagittarius Lagna. Mars is generally a good planet for you. He rules your 5th house of past good karma, but your 12th house of loss, expenses, and spirituality. He's now in the 7th house of your chart, where he's actually become weakened in this house, and also in a difficult sign, Gemini. So this is putting power into other people's hands during these next few weeks. Mars here having a 7th aspect onto you, the ascendant or the moon sign, is going to make you as restless as Mars in Gemini is. You're going to feel agitated, ill at ease, and a bit scattered in your energies during this time. Most of all, Mars in your 7th house puts you into conflict with other people, with your spouse, with your business partners, with your close friends. It doesn't matter what you try to do to compromise, there's always some conflict or some agitation coming your way. There doesn't seem to be any escape at this time. But because he is your 5th house lord, despite some of the contention, Mars' 4th aspect onto the 10th house could save the day here. By putting so much energy into your career, workplace situation, you can make enormous progress at this time. Just make sure that you don't wind up people in so doing, because you're being very ambitious at this time and you could get onto the wrong side of your superiors or even co-workers if you have afflicting planets in your 10th house. Your financial situation overall, though, stays quite frustrating because Saturn is in your 2nd house. It's in for the long term, Saturn, straightening things out, starting from scratch to build up financial security. But Mars can give you a sense of breaking through barriers with his 8th aspect. Sudden factors come to the fore and you feel like taking some financial risks. Be very cautious not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as it were. Stick with what you've already accumulated. Risks financially at this time are probably not going to pay off. Jupiter, though, in the 3rd house of your chart is making you very restless indeed at this time. And with the aspect onto Mars in equally restless Gemini, if you are young and single, well, my goodness, there could be all sorts of opportunities for new partnerships and romantic opportunities, relationship opportunities coming your way during this time. For Capricorn moon and Capricorn Lagna, both Mars, ruler of your 11th house, but also your 4th house of home and family, is moving into the 6th house of conflicts, co-worker stress, litigation, and health. So everything's happening at a really fast pace now, and you won't have a moment to yourself in these next 6 weeks. Problems are coming out of the woodwork in your domestic situation, and even contention in your friendship circle seems quite likely. The 8th aspect of Mars onto the 1st house of health is very important. Mars can bring sudden illnesses and bring up things very, very quickly to your notice health-wise. But actually aspecting your 1st house and Shani, he will actually bring things to your notice for your good. He will help you to get on top of long-term health issues in a very good way indeed. Because Mars often, by the way, can sometimes rule surgery. Occasionally there will be sudden need for that, but that would depend on many other factors in your chart. But what you will be doing is taking notice of your health now and taking very practical steps to improving it, most definitely. Quite involved family situations can also come up at this time. Mars is your 4th house lord, of course, ruling mother in your life. And being in 6th house, mother's health may be impacted sometimes. But aspecting house of father, it's going to be something which is bringing mother and father together, because of health difficulties. So it's quite involved for you. It's not an easy 6 weeks at all. Best news is, if you have no afflictions to your ninth house, you are putting a lot of energy into your philosophy and your spiritual life now. Mars also aspecting 12th house of philosophy and faith. So basically, you are getting enormous help from your religious and spiritual system now, and putting effort into these areas is going to calm you down and give you great reward at this time. Some of you, foreign travel is a definite because of the aspect onto the 9th house and 12th house in your chart. Finally, Jupiter's position in the 2nd house of your chart is excellent for your long-term financial prospects now. And having an aspect onto Mars shows that you are working at exactly the right pace to secure financial future. Even if you have to turn to litigation or law in some way to secure family finance or your own security, it will work out very well indeed now. So it's a very involved and tricky 6 weeks for Capricorn. Make the most of the spiritual and meditative aspects, most definitely. For Aquarius, Moon and Lagna, Mars is lord of your 3rd house, but also your 10th house. He's a very contentious planet to you because no friend to your Lord Shani or to Rahu. But when he moves and shakes your chart, when he moves into a very favorable house like the 5th house, things can change rapidly, as they will do in the next 6 weeks. 5th house rules offspring, of course, creative endeavors and education. Mars here gives you enormous power and success in all of these areas. If you are starting a family, you will definitely get success now. If you are in education, this is a very good aspect, giving you enormous energy to succeed in any educational endeavor. And if you are creative, Mars gives you new ideas and the potential for direct action, which actually gets you noticed in any creative area. If you do have children, though, there can be some worry and concern and even some contention with them during this period. Mars's aspect onto the 11th house is going to mean that you become extremely ambitious and that you are able actually to find new sources of income, and income can increase very well at this time. But equally and most importantly, expenses are going up as well, dramatically so. Mars's 8th aspect on the 12th house, where Shani is, means that as soon as new money comes in, it's going out immediately. Nonetheless, because Jupiter, as I say, is transiting in Aquarius in your 1st house and aspecting this transit of Mars, you'll be feeling in an optimistic mood despite all the financial fluctuation. You might even be in the mood for some speculation and risk-taking, but it's best to avoid this now because of Mars aspect on the 12th house Saturn. This could prove very dangerous indeed. So try to avoid risk-taking in every way financially during this period. For Pisces Moon and Pisces Lagna, both, Mars is a good planet for you generally. He rules your 2nd house of finances and values in life, but your 9th house of fortune and religious factors, education. He's gone into your 4th house. All your energy and your purpose is in your home and domestic situation, but this should be favorable for you. Many of you are thinking of making major changes to your home for some time, and you will definitely take effort towards this. Family may be visiting you. Much interaction with your family increases in your domestic sphere at this time. News about family members and father's family particularly becomes very important in this next 6 weeks. But the emphasis here is on you changing your domestic environment, taking steps to get in control of a difficult situation. The 4th aspect of Mars on the 7th house means this may bring you into contention with your spouse and close partners or even business partner. But again, you are driving this and they more or less have to go along with this. But you're pushing ahead in your career as well, and this could be where you have the most difficulty. You are putting so much emphasis on your home life and on your domestic situation, which needs to be changed, that you haven't got all the energy you need for your career now, and it's falling behind a little bit. And this is going to impact on your earnings because Mars has an 8th aspect onto your 11th house, where Saturn is. The challenging aspect of Mars in your 4th house to Saturn in the 11th house of your chart means that it's difficult to get the increase in income you would like at this time. You're going to have to wait a little longer to be able to get those fruits that you've been looking for, but make the most of this opportunity to get to grips with the unfinished task in your home life. And don't forget, you may even have some conflicts with your friends at this time because you are not really putting so much energy into them as into your own situation. But remember that your ruler Jupiter is in the 12th house of your chart, putting you in touch with secret information and behind the scenes activity. And aspecting Mars in the 4th house, this may unearth for you some long held secrets in regard to your childhood, mother's family, etc. This could be very interesting for many of you. Most importantly, if you are traveling at this time, which you may be, into foreign lands, you will actually find interesting potential for future residence there if you are looking for such. Check out Jupiter transit right up until September on your screen right now. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below. Goodbye for now, and God bless everyone.